Hi guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I wanted to talk about how I'm personally preparing for the recession, and hopefully this can help you pick up some tips on how you can prepare for a recession. I know a lot of people are worried about what's to come, and I'm not even gonna lie, I'm worried too. So I thought it would be a good idea to take you through what I'm doing to prepare. And if you have any questions or any other tips, leave them in the comments below. So according to a lot of articles and statistics that I see, we are predicted to hit a recession by next year, with some even predicting that we might hit it in this summer. Now, considering everything that's been happening and is happening, I don't think it's that surprising, and I know there's been a lot of cry wolf content for a long time about recessions coming and stock market crashes, etc. And to be honest, I've never worried, ever, but I'm actually worried now. And this isn't really meant to scare anyone. Like, I'm not scared, I'm just worried, and I've decided to do something about it. So hopefully by watching this, and obviously other videos too, hopefully you will create a plan to help yourself prepare as well. Whether or not it happens, no one knows, but the chances of it happening are just so high now that I think it's time to get ready for it to happen. So the first thing on my list is food stockpiling. So essentially, anytime I go shopping, I will buy 1 or 2 extra things of things that I already use, because you don't want to buy things that you don't like, I don't know, beans if you hate beans, but actually stockpiling on long shelf life foods that you already eat, especially when they're on offer. But even if they're not, if there's nothing that I eat long shelf life that's on offer, I'll just pick up an extra can or an extra something. And that way I'm having a comfort blanket of additional food for not much budget stretch every time I go shopping. So yes, I could go and do a big shop that's just for food stockpiles, but obviously that hurts the wallet a little bit more than buying something every time. And also, I don't want everything to go out of date at the same time. So actually spreading out that shopping gives me more chance that they all have different use by dates or best before dates. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because food prices are going up so much. I've already noticed how much less I'm able to buy with the same amount of money every time I go shopping. So it's almost protecting myself from the high food price rises, and also just a cushion that if anything were to go wrong, you know, knock on wood, job loss, or anything more worrying if it were to happen with everything that's going on in the eastern side of Europe, if that were to spread, you know, I want to have a nice supply for a while. So that's my reasoning for that. Now, the second way that I'm preparing for a recession is creating own food that will last. So things like jars. Now, I'm not even going to pretend like I'm doing this by myself, because I'm not. My mum is incredible at this kind of stuff. So essentially, she's created a supply of things like jams and pickles and jarred vegetables and whatever else. And come this summer, we will be doing that together just to have further supplies of this stuff. And if you know anything about food, you know, things like pickles, they will last like forever. Jams as well, they have extremely long usage dates. Essentially anything that you preserve will have a long shelf life. There are so many videos online on how to do this stuff. I'll probably make some for the vlog channel when we get around to doing it this year. But if there's anything like that that you are able to do, then definitely worth doing, especially as things come in and out of season. Because, you know, when strawberries are in season, they are far nicer tasting and far cheaper than when they're not. So creating preserves from them or freezing them, so buying them in season and freezing them, will also help you in the same way that I mentioned the food stockpiling. Next on the list of how I'm preparing for a recession, and this one is very, very personal. So there are some people who, in preparing for the recession, would actually do the complete opposite of this one. So you need to decide your own situation and how you want to play this. But for me, it's investing more money. I am a long-term investor. I firmly believe in dollar cost averaging, and I know that we are seeing an insane market crash right now. I haven't seen this many losses and this long a crash that just keeps spiraling on everything pretty much since I started investing. But I believe in the long term, and I think still I believe that investing is the only way to actually beat inflation. So whilst yes, I might invest now and it still continues to go downwards, but I just believe that dollar cost averaging is the best strategy. So that's what I'm still doing. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor, and for some people, cash will be more important. And that leads me on to the next point, which is bulking out an emergency fund. So at the moment, I don't have a specific emergency fund. I have a few savings accounts which have enough money in them that if anything were to happen, I would be okay for quite some time. So I'm not necessarily sort of putting money aside into a separate account and calling it emergency fund. Now, as I use that money for my house build, I will focus more on creating a separate emergency fund. So I'm keeping an eye on how much cash I have, and if at any point it starts reaching the point that it wouldn't be enough to cover 3 to 6 months of expenses, then I would start to bulk it out again. Now, I keep my cash in an easy access savings account, so anything with the highest interest that you can find that is easy access will be good, although obviously still lower than inflation, so losing money. Now, the fifth way that I'm preparing for a recession is actually bulk buying things that I need and that I know are rising in price now. So as an example, if you follow me already, you would have seen the videos where I said I'm selling some of my investments to pay for building materials. Now, building materials have skyrocketed and they went up so much before I even sold my investments and pre-purchased the materials. But even since then, they've gone up, and I genuinely believe that they're going to continue going up because there are shortages with things like wood, and when the whole conflict stops, they're going to need to rebuild. So that's going to further increase the shortages that we're seeing. So because these are materials that I absolutely need for my house, I am buying them when I can ahead of time. Now, the sixth way that I'm preparing for a recession is by selling stuff I don't need. So I used to do this a lot when I was trying to get out of debt, and I've not done it for a while, and I decided to go through like my wardrobe and things like that because there are still a lot of things in my wardrobe that I'm in denial over being able to ever fit into again. And I've just decided it's time to let go and sell them. So that's what I'm doing. Having the extra cash to put into those investments, that emergency fund, those materials, those food stockpiles will help. So anything lying around the house that you have that you're not really using anymore, that you're like me in denial that you'll ever wear again, worth considering selling. Number 7 is I'm stopping paying for things I don't need. So things like Netflix or Spotify. You know, there are so many entertainment things now that you can get for free. You have things like YouTube, which has so many things that can keep you entertained for hours. I think continuously paying for things that you barely use is definitely not worth it when you're preparing for a recession. So definitely worth reevaluating those subscriptions. Number 8 is stopping buying items other than necessities. Now, I love shopping. I'm not as much of a shopaholic as I used to be, but I still love shopping. And now that I'm out of debt and I have money, it's really hard not to just shop. But because of everything that's happening, it's really important now just to focus on only buying the necessities. So things like food, or I did have to buy new shoes lately because I walk now so much that I've actually got holes in my trainers because I'm doing like over 20,000 steps a day. So things like that, but not necessarily, oh, I just fancy a new dress sort of thing. And the final item on my list here is self-sufficiency. So Started some of it already, but most of it obviously very, very slow. And as my house is being built, looking at doing these things. But things like a rainwater catchment, I'm definitely putting that in, because you can water the garden and your plants with rainwater rather than using up mains water and paying for it. Things like solar panels, I mean, I was already planning to do that, but it helps. Things like growing my own vegetables and fruits. So we've already started looking at doing that, planning to massively expand that as soon as possible. Yes, it's a lot of work, but it means you're not relying as much on supermarkets. Things like having a chicken coop. So it's been my dream for a long time to have my own chicken coop, and I definitely want to have one as soon as I'm able to. You know, when the build is finished and I can actually have chickens on my plot, I will be doing that. It doesn't mean that you have to do every single one of these or become super self-sufficient. I mean, that would be awesome, but it just takes off some of that pressure of completely relying on the supply chain for your food supply. Okay, I think I've been talking for a long time now. So hopefully that's given you some inspiration of how to prepare. The most important thing is not to panic. Slowly get to grips with your finances, make a plan, and just be prepared. Don't let it throw you off guard. Make sure you also focus on things like paying off high interest debt. You do not want to be in debt when there's a recession. So yeah, let me know if you have any other ideas, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.